Hello, hello. So I have a few minutes before I've got to leave, and I wanted to do a live on this because I was gonna sit and write a post, and I figured it would just be easier to talk it out. So welcome if you're gonna hop on. This is one of the biggest requests that I have. Ciao, Mattia. Oh my God, blast from the past. I love it when my Italian friends come on my lives. It makes me so happy. Being chosen in a relationship, this is probably like the top thing that women come to me when they want to be in a container. Oh, wow. I'm glad that you're safe. Ciao. Hi, Amanda. Hi. Hi, you guys. Oh my God, I haven't been on a live in so long. I don't have a ton of time, so I just kind of want to get right into this. And I'm not wearing my glasses, so forgive the squinting. I can't tell you how many times I've heard women come to me and be like, I just want to be chosen. I keep choosing people that don't choose me back. Viva le donne. Absolutely. Long live the women. Women are wanting and waiting to be chosen, you know? And at first, this pattern seems like it's like you don't understand it. You're like, how is it possible that I continue to choose or pursue people who don't pick me? And people really believe, like I've been in this position, when you really believe that the one thing that's going to solve all your problems and all of your emotional distress and all of your abandonment issues and fears and insecurities is when somebody fully chooses you. I'm being cheeky because there's like yes and no. Do you know what I mean? So let's go a little bit deeper. Yes, it's beautiful to be fully chosen in a relationship. Like being in a commitment, again, if you have fears of commitment, which are most of the people that I work with, then it can be really terrifying actually to be chosen, even though your mind and your ego is like, no, this is what I really want. But when you go all in, it's really revealing, right? Hold on, I'm just gonna turn the light on. So a lot of people come to me and they're like, I'm longing for this. Why do I keep picking people who are unavailable or who in some capacity are like pushing and pulling with me? And we just can't seem to get on the same page. And this pattern can go on for months and months or years and years. And it's really painful. So this is sort of like a two-part answer on my behalf because I've done so much work in this over the last 10 years and worked with so many people. Number one, I'm going to say that the illusion of being chosen is really coming from your mind because most of the people that are struggling with this haven't even chosen themselves yet. And what I mean by that is really fully showing up for yourself in all the ways that you're longing to be chosen by somebody else. So it might be like in an emotional capacity. So you really want to be able to have emotional intimacy with somebody, but maybe they're just there for the physical part or like the sex, but you're not feeling like you're emotionally connecting. Or maybe you want like a full physical commitment. And again, maybe you're in like a situationship or you have this tendency to get involved with people where there's like you're not clear on where you're standing. Maybe you don't have a shared vision or you don't know what's going on, but you're still lingering in there waiting for it to become something that maybe it's not yet. And again, this can be so painful when you're in it and almost like in purgatory, waiting for it to change and feeling like there's something wrong with you if you're not being chosen fully by the other person. But you can only experience in your relationships or in your outer world what's going on within you, you know, what's going on within your own mind, your own energetic system, your own being. It's happening inside, right? So being chosen is an inside job numero uno. And we've probably heard this before, but putting it into practice is a little bit different. So number one of the things that I really help women and support them with is to really fully show up for themselves. I don't think that most of us know how to do that initially because this isn't what we're taught. We're fed this like fairy tale that somebody else completes us, that, you know, when you get in a relationship, then that's it. It's like, oh, that's it. You've been chosen. Maybe somebody wants to marry you or whatever. You end up living together, la la la. And then it's like, okay, I've been picked. That's it. And people believe that that's where it ends, like that you're not going to experience more discomfort, that you're going to feel completely secure when somebody chooses you. But that is a humongous illusion, you guys. And that's what I really wanted to say for part one of this video, is that there is like no such thing as external security. That sounds weird because you'll be like, but there is, because when someone puts a ring on it, then it means something, and then la la la. But what I'm saying is on a level of consciousness, you have to choose yourself. You have to create an imprint of really fully being there for you and also unconditionally loving others. But we typically don't want to do that unless someone's doing it for us first. Somebody just said, I was only speaking about you the other day. Oh, wow. You helped me start my healing journey. That is so beautiful. Thanks for still being here. That makes me really happy. There's a lot of people here that have been here for a really long time. And that's why I'm coming back to these teachings, because, you know, they evolve. And we've all evolved, I think, quite a bit. I know that I have, and I know that a lot of you have as well. So numero uno, number one, is like, you choose you, right? First and foremost. And like I said, a lot of times we're waiting for somebody else to do the thing for us that we need to actually do for ourselves. Because what ends up happening is that as you show up for yourself in those ways, emotionally, maybe physically being there and holding space for yourself, you know, a lot of women have really this full range emotionally that they don't know what to do with. And when we haven't developed like a self-awareness about this, we can sort of like, I'm just going to use the term like emotionally dump on somebody else and really put a lot of pressure on them to make us feel better, quote unquote, you know? And again, that's not up to anybody else. That doesn't mean that we can't, again, this is nuance. So I'm trying to give you guys like part one of this answer, because you can share things emotionally. You can, you know, hold space for one another in a partnership. But if you haven't learned how to do these things for yourself first and really feel secure within yourself, then you continue to repeat the same pattern. You continue to attract it energetically with your karma, with your mind. Like, it's coming from you. And so how can somebody choose you if, number one, you haven't chosen yourself fully? And number two, the other part of this is, and if I weave in maybe, you know, a little bit of Buddhist teaching, like, we can't experience what we're not giving and doing and being. And so the other part of this, and again, this is very common for women. I'm speaking, again, in like heteronormative terms because I date men. Most of my clients are straight women that date men. But of course, this extends out, and I have clients who are in same-sex partnerships and stuff like that. So, you know what I mean? Like, take it with a grain of salt. This definitely applies beyond straight people, but I'm just speaking in straight people terms because that's what's easiest. And most of the women that I'm talking to here date men. So a lot of the women that come to me are like, they want a man to, like, again, make them feel secure enough so that then they can open up, then they can do the things that they need to do, then they can feel safe, then they can feel calm. And this, again, is a gigantic illusion. And so this is where, you know, the deeper teachings and deeper intimacy comes in, because, again, we can't experience outside of ourselves what we're not experiencing within ourselves. And what we're not, again, as I was saying, weaving in the Buddhism, you can't experience love unless you're giving it. Unconditionally, selflessly, giving. Giving is receiving. But that's not what we're taught. We're taught like a very transactional kind of conditional type of love, which is like, you give me something, then I give you something back. Almost like I owe you. It's like tit for tat, keeping score. But again, if we look at it through the lens of energy, like, we can't experience, again, what we're not being and embodying. So when you're waiting to be chosen, I mean, if we go to like a really, I don't know, we kind of make it like relationship coachy, like, when you're trying to be chosen, you're basically chasing after the pattern that you learned growing up, where somebody's affection or love or attention felt really hard to get. And so in adulthood, we're just looking for it in a partner. We're looking for it outside. Let me fix this pattern. And what do? We find the most unavailable, withdrawn, avoidant people. They might care about us, but they're not available. And so therefore, and they're self-abandoning, just like us. Because when we're outside of ourselves and we're looking out there for our happiness, our safety, our security. It's a bottomless pit because it's not out there. So we go chasing these people who feel literally impossible to grasp. It's almost like sand through your fingertips. Like these connections feel like unattainable. The thing that you want the most to just be picked fully. Why can't they just choose me? Why won't they just pick me? Why won't they just fully commit to me? Why won't they just make me their partner or their wife or whatever? It doesn't happen out there. And so we can't attract a person who's going to fully choose us unless we're embodying that energy, right? Have you guys experienced this? There's a few people on here now. I mean, you're logging in, so I'm sure you relate, but I remember so vividly the feeling in my body of, again, like sand through your fingertips when you're grasping and chasing and pursuing a person who isn't available for that type of connection because they're mirroring you. And it's so painful. Now, I want to put a little disclaimer in here. You can start out like this in a relationship with somebody and you can shift your energy. And that same person who was running away from you, pushing you away, you were repelling that person. They were literally like so repulsed, right? That's what it feels like. And you're just chasing and wanting and wanting. You can absolutely transform a connection with the same person that used to run away from you and shift the dynamics and be chosen. But we can't be under the false pretense that it's going to happen without our radical responsibility, and the shift has to come from us. Sorry for all the construction noise. This is why I haven't been on lives very much. They're literally outside my door, so hopefully you can't hear it, but I can. That's why I haven't been doing videos and stuff. It's been really noisy the last couple of months. Let me focus. It's making me lose my focus. So, one, people are mirroring us. So we can't be chosen until we're choosing ourselves. Now, how do you choose yourself? What does that even mean? The way that I support people in this is that the containers that I hold for women are all revolving around deep intimacy and embodiment practices. And by embodiment, I just mean dropping out of your head into your body in an intentional way. That might be through, certain meditation practices. It could be like through somatic practices. I have a training in sensual somatic tools that I took with a really amazing practitioner, Desiree Monique. She's sensual somatic. Just give her a shout out. She's great. And, Buddhist meditation is also another way that we can drop into sensations and things that are going on in our body. But the main way that I'm doing it is through these sort of sensuality practices that are meditative and leaving space for you to start to drop into your body and out of your head. This is really important with deep intimacy because a lot of times, especially when we're struggling with a pattern like wanting to be fully chosen, we're intellectualizing it. We're in our heads, we're from the neck up, we're trying to figure it out. That's not how it works. It's good to have a certain understanding of your patterns. That's why I mentioned you chasing after a person that doesn't choose you is coming from a past experience in your life, probably one of your parents who felt really hard to get. Like their love wasn't readily available. It didn't feel like it was there for you consistently. And so with that sort of insecure feeling within you, like, oh, I have to try so hard, or I have to prove myself, or I have to it's like a kid who's like jumping up and down, like, daddy, 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 mommy, 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 like, pay attention to me. That's sort of what starts to manifest energetically in adulthood in your relationships. And like I said, you end up picking the people that are like the most avoidant, unavailable people ever. And so again, don't beat yourself up. This is all resolvable. Keep the faith. I have faith in you. I've resolved this so much of this within myself that I promise you, you can do it. But it does take presence with yourself, like really being there for yourself in ways that you never have before. So like I said, one of the ways that I do this with women is in my containers. That's really what we're focused on. It's like dropping out of the head and into the body. And then we can start to investigate what's going on there. What have we been ignoring by chasing people who aren't available, by self-abandoning? What are we not present with when we're outside of ourselves, right? This is so huge. And so you start to do some of the things step by step. This doesn't happen overnight, but you start to show up in the places where you've been running away from yourself, because ultimately dying to be chosen by somebody is just a form of self-abandonment. It's like Your spirit wants you there with yourself so badly. It's like, come back home. Come back home. And it feels so good when you start to do it, but initially it could feel really scary because again, when we're used to looking outside of ourselves, most of us, even past me, believed that my happiness really lied in the other person, whatever it was. Or maybe it's in the money, or maybe it's in the thing that you want so badly that you really think is going to change your whole life. It doesn't mean it won't be life changing, but it isn't the source of your eternal happiness. The source of our eternal happiness is when we're enlightened, when we have a mind that's free from suffering. And that's where we can kind of link in and weave in the Buddhism. And that's a little bit more advanced teaching, right? Because sometimes we have to really understand the base. That's why I talked about those other things first. Because if we don't even understand why we're doing what we're doing, it might be a little hard to then move on to like, okay, I understand that if that person picks me, let's just say it. Let's say the person that you've been dying to pick you finally chooses you. They're like, you know what? I've had a change of heart. Suddenly I'm immensely attracted to you, and because this can happen, take it from me, and someone's like, oh my god, now I want to pick you, now I want to choose you, and you get this like high initially, right? Like it's almost like it's like a dopamine hit. You're like, oh my god, and you feel this high. But again, like they say in Buddhism, life is suffering. We just have to understand we're in a suffering realm because our minds are not free yet. But if you free your mind and liberate your mind from the suffering, you will understand the nature of reality, which will show us happiness, bliss, whatever it is that you want, sustainably, forever, endless bliss. It doesn't come from the person, the partner, the body, the money, the stuff, the car, the job, the title, the validation. It doesn't come from them. It doesn't mean we can't appreciate those things, and it doesn't mean that they're not nice when they happen, but that's not the source of your happiness. If you can really get to that place and understand that behind every desire being met is more suffering, because we're in samsara, the realm of suffering, right? This is why I started to study Buddhism in the first place, because I knew I'd almost like hit a plateau with all these teachings. I was like, all right, now that I understand that like I need to choose myself, why am I self-abandoning? Okay, let me show up for myself every day with some rituals and show up, start to meditate, start to be in my body, start to get in touch with my sensual energy, start to slow down. Let me drop out of my head and into my body more often. Let me be there for myself emotionally in the ways that I haven't been, where I've been wanting someone else to fill the void. Let me be there for myself physically in the ways that I've wanted someone else to fill the void. Let me be there for myself sensually or sexually in the way that I wanted someone else to fill it. Do you see what I'm saying? So you start to do those things, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, my cup feels full. Energetically, you start to feel like you're nourished. You're like, huh, I don't feel like this pit of emptiness inside of me that's insatiable. This is sort of like the foundations. And by the way, if you want to do the foundations and start somewhere, I have a bundle. I'm going to be renaming it, but it's the Embodied Feminine Bundle in my store. It's like $200. And it includes a few things, but one of the courses in there is the 5-week Return of Venus immersion. And that was completely focused on everything that I'm talking about here, like from the beginning of the video. Slowing down the feminine energy, yin, being in your body, sensuality, sacred sexuality. These themes are the things that we go into, because again, if you're in hyper overdrive, like most of the women that are attracted to my work, because that was me, and you don't have a sense of connection with your body and with your intuition and really deeply with your emotions and an awareness there, then again, you're operating from the neck up and you're intellectualizing and you're chasing and you're pursuing, but again, things feel elusive, like you just can't capture the person or the thing that you want. Let me just read this comment. So Martha says, I've been doing self-love meditations daily and they're really helping. Is that enough of a spiritual practice? I'm connecting to myself more than the divine. If you already feel that way, then what I would say is like there's so many ways to create a spiritual practice. My spiritual practices look so different over the years, and it's really evolved, it's deepened, and it's gotten much more like profound, but you've got to evolve as a person, you know what I mean? So starting somewhere is great. If you're feeling like maybe you're more in your head, sometimes guided meditations can get us in our head. What's interesting, and I've talked to one of my teachers about this before, it's like when I first started meditating, I needed guided meditations. I had to listen to someone guiding me. And I got to a point, especially over the last year, that I've been really much deeper into the Buddhist teachings and meditation, specific Buddhist meditation practices. I've been craving silent meditation. And so I finally started a silent meditation practice, which I'm loving. But that may not be your first inclination, because stillness is going to bring all your shit up. And when we're running away, like trying to be chosen by somebody, which is exactly what I'm talking about in this video, there's 1,000,001 ways that we can avoid ourselves. And one of the ways that we avoid ourselves is by this illusion of wanting to be chosen desperately. And it sucks up all your energy. And like I said, I've been there, and I know how painful it is when you're in there, but just know that there is a way out. There definitely is. But the key is always in our mind, you know? And so, like I said, a really formal meditation practice may not feel like the best first step, and that's fine. That's why I created things like Return of Venus, where even the meditation practices are very short and simple, and they include a little bit of gentle movement, and they're not like rigid, because I'm not into rigidity. I think you've got to start where you are. You got to start practicing where you're at and let it unfold, because you'll be drawn to the path, to the things, to the tools, to the practices that are best for you. Just like I was, but you know, like the Buddhist stuff didn't arrive immediately. It's been in the orbit for a long time, but I didn't really start to practice that until this past year in a serious way. So let it unfold. But I would say that if you're feeling like you're in your head, then you are, and most of us are. I'm a pretty seasoned meditator. I've been meditating a long time, and my mind is still busy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we all have busy minds, and so something that might be really powerful for you. And again, feel free to like do one of my courses or grab that bundle, the Embodied Feminine bundle, because maybe what's better isn't a meditation practice per se, but maybe it is like a sensuality practice. Maybe instead of doing the self-love, whatever it is, guided meditation, maybe you spend some time, do some mirror work, maybe sit in your room. You know, I like to do this after a shower at night, light a candle or two, set the mood, put some really nice music on, and be with yourself. Let that be your meditation. Maybe you need a moving meditation, but I find that most women, that's why I started with Return of Venus as an immersion. It's 5 weeks, so it's very digestible, and it will give you practices that you can keep using. The reason I did that is because, again, most women that are struggling with especially with this being chosen, are in their head. They're not in their body. And again, we're not taught this, so we have to learn. But when you start to drop into your body and make a practice less about thinking and less about like listening with your head, and you start to actually feel and leave space for yourself to feel and to be in that softer, more sensual energy where it's not about thinking and needing to figure it out, or even needing to like stay on track intellectually with the meditation, because I find sometimes I get a little lost in that too, depending on my mood and where I'm at for the day. You know, we fluctuate. We're women. We fluctuate. We have cycles every month. We're changing all the time. Our emotions are shifting. Our mood is shifting. If you have a cycle, your cycle is shifting. So we're very cyclical. So like as women, again, I think I tend to be very disciplined and rigid, but I think it's really important. That's why I teach this stuff, because I need to learn it too. You know, I needed to learn how to drop into my body. So that's sort of part one. And then part two, like I said, of being chosen is that as you start to choose you, show up for you, really fully be there for yourself, it's so beautiful, because like I said, you're going to see it in other people. Again, in Buddhism, you've got to give what you want to receive. You have to embody it. You have to create new imprints of giving. You're welcome. I'm glad that was helpful, Martha. You got to give it. You've got to become it. So instead of waiting to be chosen, go love people. Truly love them, but don't expect anything back. This is not an easy practice, you know, and if we're having a lot of trouble loving others and not expecting something, then we need to practice also with ourselves, you know, to be there for you. When you're in overflow, your energy completely shifts in your relationships. When your cup is empty and dried up and dusty, and you haven't been given to yourself, and you haven't been in your body, and you haven't been present with yourself, you feel resentful. Your battery is on low. You have nothing to give. And then you can get really worked up really easily. And that's when I find, even personally, after 10 years of this work and practice, that I get irritable. I get frustrated more easily. I get like I start to get tense. I start to want things like in my way. I start to want to control things. And that is where we need practice. That's where the more awareness you have and the more that you have these tools at your disposal, you know better. It's like, it's like a toddler that's on the verge of a meltdown that needs to go take a nap. In the moments in relationship where you start to become the toddler, we all have it. Definitely. You catch yourself and then you're like, I need to go take a few deep breaths, or I need a break, or I need to go fill my cup. And a lot of women have a lot of guilt because in America we just have this disease of guilt. I love that in Tibet, like in the Dalai Lama or whatever, there's no word like for guilt. They like don't have a word for it. It doesn't even exist because they're like, that's useless. Like, have intelligent regret, like understand what you're doing and then change it. Don't sit around feeling guilty. But we have this conditioning that we need to unwire of feeling guilty to be choosing ourselves fully. And we really believe that when a partner chooses us, it's going to solve our problems, but it won't, you guys. It just simply will not. It will feel good temporarily like a drug, and then the same stuff, I was going to say shit, same shit's going to come up over and over because it's coming from here. So first things first, start to create practices where you're showing up for you in a more gentle way, not this like aggressive, hyperactive, I gotta do it, again, that's part of this like yang energy that's repelling what you want because you're like chasing it so hard, it can't come to meet you. Space can feel really scary, especially if you have that kind of anxious wanting to attach and wanting to like control things and you're hyper vigilant. That can definitely show up as this wanting to be chosen and trying to micromanage it and then feeling so, all over the place when you can't control the other person's actions and energy and emotions. So we really have to like take a few steps back and start to be there for ourselves. And again, then you're going to notice that people are going to want to be around you. Suddenly, like I said, the person that maybe was running away from you is running towards you because you become magnetic for the thing that you are embodying, for the energy that you are being and how you're showing up in the world. And again, the best way to receive love, like true unconditional love from others, is to unconditionally love people. This is a practice. Anything else? Anybody have any questions? I gotta run. I gotta take off. I don't know how many people are still on here, but yeah, do you have any questions before I hop off? Otherwise, I'm gonna save this and get going. I hope this is helpful. I feel like this is a really big topic and I could have said more, but I have an immersion coming up, so stay tuned. This is definitely a big piece of this work on conscious relationship and sacred partnership. And what I mean by sacred partnership is really utilizing a relationship as another form of spiritual practice, as a place, as a container, as a vehicle to transform and raise your consciousness. Of course, you enjoy all the rest of it too, because relationship is great for all kinds of reasons. But when we're talking about sacred relationship or conscious partnership, for me, that just means you're coming with a really deep willingness to take radical responsibility for your reality and also utilizing the relationship as a mirror. It's so much faster actually to do things in relationship than it is to do it on your own. Because in relationship, your stuff comes up really fast, like really fast. And in these kinds of relationships, your stuff is going to come up really quickly. And these types of practices are going to help you. And what I mean by that is meditation practices, the embodiment, the somatic stuff, the sensuality tools. Like these are the things that you need so that you can bring that to your life and then actually be able, in a moment where you're really about to be reactive, you're about to do something that you're going to regret, create karma that you don't want to boomerang back later, right? This is where you start to build awareness. And instead of being afraid of conflict or instead of chasing things that are eluding you, that are running away from you, you start to become magnetic to what you want. You start to have the willingness and the ability in the moment that you could start to erode the intimacy with all of this reactivity and unconscious wounding. You start to actually build deeper intimacy in that moment. And I think I'm going to write a post on that because that's really important. We're so terrified sometimes of conflict, like so afraid to have conflict come up because we don't know how to cope with it. And also most of the time we're blaming. And so again, this is another way that we can repel and people run away from us because we're putting all of our eggs in their basket. Like they're the answer to our entire life. And they're not, I promise. And when you take that pressure off of someone, of needing them to choose you at all costs or else you're going to be an emotional wreck, or else life isn't complete. The way that things can shift like that, it's unbelievable. I've experienced it firsthand. I know that you are the answer, not that person. I promise. So if this is interesting to you, first of all, you can DM me, the letters MM. If you're interested, I have an immersion coming. It will be not for beginners, actually. It's not going to be a beginner's immersion. There will be an application, but some of you guys have been around for a while. So even if you haven't necessarily worked with me directly, maybe you've been doing other work with other people and you're actually ready for this. So feel free to DM me the letters MM. I'm creating a wait list. I've got a nice little amount of people on there, and I haven't even finished the sales page, but it's coming really soon. So I'm pulling that together. But if this interests you, this is definitely one of the themes. This is the book that we're going to use as well, the Magdalene manuscript, hence the MM. The Alchemies of Horus and the Sex Magic of Isis. This book is a really magical tool. There's a lot in here, and so this will be part of the framework of the immersion, but we'll do more than just the book. So being chosen is such a big thing for people. That is definitely one of the things that we're going to explore. Yeah, because like I said, sacred partnership is a spiritual path as well. Just like your own meditation practice, your relationship can be another form of spiritual practice. And it's an amazing way to expand beyond your wildest dreams, because that's really what it's been for me. All right, love you guys. DM me MM if you want me to put you on the wait list. And like I said, the page with all of the details and the application is going to be ready by next week. I'm holding myself accountable to next week. So be on the lookout for that, but you can DM me if you want me to pop you on the wait list, because it will be limited space. I'm not going to have a huge group. This is going to be like intimate, like all my containers this year. Everything's intimate. All the group programs are going to be by application. We're not fucking around this year. I'm getting more honed in, more refined, a little bit more advanced, and or a lot in some cases. We'll see how it goes. And so we've got to make sure that the space is super clear energetically, and that the women that are coming in are really ready to go where I want to take you, because this requires a lot of willingness and vulnerability and readiness. So that's it. I love you guys. I'll be back soon on another live. Till then, happy Friday, happy weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon.